Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Football Chuggu Podcast, a brand new podcast that will discuss all the football news around the globe. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So, in today's podcast, we will be discussing the weekend's results from the Premier League and SPFL, previewing this weekend's Viaplay Cup final between Celtic and Rangers, and also finishing up with Pearse giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So coming up next, we'll be discussing the Premier League results from the weekend. So on Saturday, the early kickoff, which started at 12:30, it finished Aston Villa 2, Arsenal 4. And the 3 p.m. kickoffs on Saturday, it was Brentford 1, Crystal Palace 1, Brighton 0, Fulham 1, Chelsea 0, Southampton 1, Everton 1, Leeds 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Man City 1, Wolves 0, Bournemouth 1. And in the Saturday evening kickoff, it finished Newcastle 0, Liverpool 2. So, Pearse, which Premier League game do you think held the most significance in the Premier League this weekend, and why?
The English Premier League game that I think held the most significance would be the Nottingham Forest 1, Manchester City 1. Just because of where it puts Arsenal in a massively strong position to go on and win the title for the first time in, I don't know how long, maybe 20 years, maybe 18 years, something like that. But it's the fact is that Man City created chances. They had so many opportunities, but they just failed to take them. They didn't have that. They lacked that cutting edge that they usually have, especially with players like Jack Grealish, Erling Haaland, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and they just could not find a breakthrough. And then Chris Wood comes on with 5 minutes to go. First touch, it's a goal, one each. And Nottingham Forest, probably one of the best results in recent history. That's the one I would go for.
Yeah. Do you think that's caused a lot more issues for Man City in the title race?
I do believe that, yeah, because you'd always kind of back Man City to win the league because they always somehow miraculously they just win maybe 10, 15 games, the last 10, 15 just in a row. But this season it seems different. It seems as if they'll get a cracking result in terms of beating Liverpool, and then the next week they'll lose to Southampton, for instance. Just an example, but the form has been very inconsistent this season. And there seems to be something different. And Arsenal been very, very consistent this season, considering they were calling for Arteta to be sacked last season.
Yep. So, my most significant Premier League result of the weekend was when it finished Chelsea 0, Southampton 1, for two reasons. My first reason is because it really opens up the relegation battle with Southampton obviously sacking Nathan Jones last weekend. It was the first game for the Southampton interim manager, and for him to get a win, you know, a massive result, especially away from home. I think a lot of people were, counting on Southampton to go down and even finish at the bottom of the table, but because they won, I just think that it opens up, to so many teams now. I think teams all the way up to 14th place could still get relegated this season in the Premier League. So, I do think in the months ahead, the Premier League relegation battle it's going to really heat up. And at the moment, you can't really call who's going to go down, because all the teams are so close. And I also think for Chelsea, they're in really, really in a bad situation at the moment. Obviously, in January, they signed a lot of new players, spent so much money, and at the moment, it just doesn't seem to be working. They're lacking an attacking threat. They don't really know how to score goals, although they created so many opportunities on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And for the manager, Graham Potter, it's not looking good for him. I think the Chelsea owner is backing him to to bring Chelsea in the long term, but I think the fans have turned on him a little bit, and the boos at the end of the game on Saturday says a lot. I think Graham Potter at the moment will stay, but I think in the next few weeks, if the results keep getting worse, then I could see a situation where Chelsea have no other choice but to sack him. So my significant result of the weekend is the Chelsea Southampton match.
Are we not going to talk about the James Ward-Prowse free kick?
Yeah, brilliant free kick. I think it just comes natural to him. Um, you know, I think he's one of the best. I think Pep Guardiola said that he's the best free kick taker he's ever seen.
It's got to be up there with say like Lionel Messi, Shinsuke Nakamura, Juninho, Pernambucano.
Yeah, I think it's he's got unbelievable technique. Um, I think every time he has a free kick, I think everybody thinks he's going to score, and the free kick he got on Saturday, I mean, the goal was brilliant. And yeah, he's just such a brilliant player.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
from close range, and he managed to get up over the wall, but he put it in the bottom corner, pinpoint, and that's
yeah,
not an easy
no,
thing
it's
to
not.
do.
No, he's definitely one of the best best free kick takers in my opinion that I've ever seen. Brilliant,
Yeah.
just unbelievable technique. So moving on to the SPFL results. These were the results from the weekend.
So in terms of results on the weekend, it started off on Saturday with Celtic 4, Aberdeen 0, Dundee United 1, St Johnstone 2, Hibernian 2, Kilmarnock 0, Livingston 0, Rangers 3, St Mirren 1, Ross County 0, and then on Sunday we had Motherwell 2, Hearts 0. So Tom, what do you think was the most significant result in the SPFL football card this weekend, and what is your reasoning to that?
So I think the most significant result in the SPFL this weekend was the Sunday match where it finished Motherwell 2, Hearts 0. My reason for that is because with the new manager that Motherwell have, Stuart Kettlewell, who is interim manager at the moment, I think he's given himself such a great chance to get the job permanently. Motherwell, who sacked a manager a couple of weeks ago after the defeat in the Scottish Cup to Raith Rovers, they were in a really bad place. But in the space of a week, they've got 2 victories, and they've not conceded a goal in them 2 games. So I definitely would say that game. And again, I think for the relegation battle, it really opens it up again. Motherwell have taken themselves away from it a little bit, although they are still in it. But I think in terms of the manager situation, I definitely think Stuart Kettlewell has got, in my opinion, should be getting the job. I think there's 2 other people that are in the race to get it. I think it's Ian Holloway and Grant McCann. But they two have never managed in the SPFL before, whereas Stuart Kettlewell has. He's got the experience, and from the reaction and the attitude I've seen from the players on Sunday, they seem to really be on board with him. So, in my opinion, I think Stuart Kettlewell should get the job, even if it's until the end of the season, and then they review it at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think Stuart Kettlewell. I think because he knows the game, like the Scottish game better than the other 2 candidates.
Yep.
And also on the back of the 2 results they've got, especially against the Hearts side that have been going really well this season. I definitely think that he should get the job. And what about you? What's your most significant result of the weekend?
Well, for me, it would be the exact same result. Motherwell 2, Hearts 0, because similar to what you said, like the fact is they've got that new manager bounce. Because a lot of players, like, you look at that Motherwell side, there's a lot of good players in that team. You look at Van Veen, you look at Liam Kelly, you look at Mugabe, like Sean Goss, Blair Spittle, some technically gifted players. It's just the fact is is it short of confidence, or maybe not trying or just not playing to their levels. And they've also got obviously Stephen O'Donnell as well. So good players, solid players. To be in the relegation battle, they should not be. Stuart Kerr will seem to get a bounce on them right away because they've played two of the toughest sides defensively to break down in terms of Mirren have got one of the best defensive records in the league because they just don't concede many goals, and then on the break they're very good with Ayunga and Curtis Main. So beat them on Wednesday, and then on Sunday, they played Hearts, who have been high flying. Robbie Neilson manager a month. They only lost to Rangers in every other game. They either won or drew, so they were unbeaten. I think it was like 4 of the last 6 in the last month they won. So to beat these two sides, they've definitely put themselves back in the hunt for survival.
Do you think Motherwell will go down? Do you think they'll be okay this season?
I think they'll be okay. I think the one that will go down will be Dundee United.
Yeah, I think Motherwell. I think they've got enough to be safe. I think they'll be okay. And yeah, I actually think looking back, the result against Hearts, I think they could be looking back and saying that that could be one of the most important results in terms of staying up this season. So that's what that's how significant I think it is for them. So we will now move on to the preview of the Viaplay Cup final between Celtic and Rangers. The final will be played on Sunday, the 26th of February at Hampden Park, with the kick-off time at 3 p.m. Pearse, what are your thoughts about this weekend's final, and what do you think of both teams' chances of winning the cup?
I think the final is set up for a fantastic spectacle. Both sides in terrific form since the New Year's Day fixture of Celtic and Rangers at Ibrox. It has been each side have won every game, every fixture they've had. Celtic a little bit more free flowing in terms of attacking options. Daizen Maeda, Jota, Abada, Kyogo. Celtic with a few new signings in as well. Gusung and Iwata. So more reinforcements in that area. Whereas Rangers have been scraping over the line the last couple of the games. The fans have been uneasy, apart from the game where they played Hearts at Tynecastle and they ran out comfortable winners. But in terms of the game itself, I think the game will be key in terms of the midfield battle. Who comes out on top? Who stamps their authority early on? Who gets their first goal? Because usually the one that gets their first goal usually goes on to secure victory. Not always, but gives you something to hold on to and something to build on. That platform to go and get the trophy. And obviously Celtic are the holders, so Celtic are the favourites in my opinion. And Celtic are playing a better football and they've got more players in form. But at Hampden, anything's possible. That pitch, and it's a cup final, form goes out the window, and especially in Celtic versus Rangers, it's usually high intense, a lot of free flowing football and a lot of, what would you say, risky challenges.
No, absolutely. I agree with a lot of what you said there. It's a cup final, so anything can happen, but it's really set up to be, an exciting game. Obviously the two most informed teams in the country. I think since the last time Celtic and Rangers have played each other at the start of the new year, both teams have won every game. Obviously Celtic have scored lots of goals. Rangers, some games they've been a bit sticky, but they've managed to pull out the results. But it is a final. Anything can happen. I think in January, Rangers they made a couple of signings with Raskin and Cantwell. So I think they two, have helped them in terms of the depth of the squad. I think in terms of injuries, they've got a lot of players back now. In terms of Kemar Roof, players like that. I think that's made them stronger. And Celtic, for the whole season, they've just been so consistent. Every game they go into, they're scoring more than I think they're averaging more than 2 goals a game. So I've got no idea. I'm not going to call it because I think it's impossible to predict a cup final. But what I do think is that there's going to be lots of goals. I think, both sides. I think it could be a high scoring game. And I also do think it will go beyond the 90 minutes into extra time or even penalties. No, what do you think? Do you think it'll be finished in 90 minutes? What's your prediction if you're going to give one?
I love it to be finished in 90 minutes. But no, I do think it will go the full 120. I don't think it will go to penalties. I think there will be a winner. Because like you say, penalties is a lottery, but I do think it will be done in extra time. And I think substitutions for both sides will be key. And I do feel if Celtic have a strong bench, but Rangers starting to get stronger bench now, but their players aren't fully match fit with the Celtic's bench is, and Celtic do have game changers on that bench. If you think of the front three that Celtic could play, probably Maeda, Jota, Kyogo. Then you've got the bench, you've got Abada, Haksabanovic, James Forrest. And you look at the midfield, you've got probably the starting midfield might be Moy, depends if he's fit or not. Hatate McGuigan, you've got the bench, you've got David Turnbull, and he's injured, but players like that, him, O'Reilly, and then you've got Tomoki Iwata. So I think there's Celtic's bench is a lot more strength. And I would say Celtic will win the game, but I think it would be like a 3-2 or a 4-3. So I think it will be a high scoring game, entertaining for a neutral, and potentially maybe even a red card. Because I think VAR will be busy this weekend, and Rangers, they'll have a penalty.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely do think VAR will have their moment at the weekend. In these games, there's always going to be controversy. Both teams they'll be desperate for it. So definitely VAR will make their presence known at the weekend. So for the final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so in terms of the Korean Football League season, that doesn't start until next weekend. So this weekend coming, so the 25th and the 26th is when the games start for them. And then it's the following week for the K-League 2, and 2 weeks after that, it's the K-League 3 season, which is a semi-professional league in South Korea. But this week, there was a start of the exciting Japanese league, where Andrius Postecoglou's side, former side, Yokohama Marinos played Kawasaki Frontale in a Friday night fixture, and they beat them 2-1. In terms of Saturday, we had a full card of fixtures, and that was Cerezo Osaka 2, Nagata 2, FC Tokyo 2, Urawa Red Diamonds 0, which there's a match report on our Football Chuggu website, so go check it out. Kyoto Sanga 0, Kawashima Antlers 2, Sanfrecce Hiroshima 0, Haikido Consadole Sapporo 0, Vissel Kobe 1, Avispa Fukaka 0, Yokohama FC 0, Nagoya Grampus 1, Kawashima Reysol 2, Gamba Osaka 2, and last but not least, Sagan Tusu 1, Shonan Belmare 5. So in terms of, it's a lot of nice football played in the game that I watched, and checked out a few of the highlights from the other games. A lot of interesting football, some really good talents, as you can see already demonstrated in the SPFL with Celtic, and a few of the Hearts and Motherwell get a few Japanese players as well now. So the Japanese league is an exciting league to watch, and it's one I will be keeping a close eye on in the next coming weeks, as well as the South Korean when it starts up.
Thank you, Pearse. So thank you everyone for listening to the first episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel, and it will also be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu website. Thank you for listening, and see you soon.
Bye-bye.